My child, before you even realize what is unfolding behind the scenes, something deeply beautiful and undeniable is already moving toward you, something that carries truth, clarity, and a quiet but powerful confirmation about your marriage with your soulmate, because what you thought was uncertain, what you sometimes questioned in silent moments, what you feared might never fully align is now beginning to reveal itself in ways that will touch your heart beyond expectation, and I need you to understand that this is not just about love in the ordinary sense. This is about a connection that has been tested, stretched, and silently protected even when you felt distance, confusion, or emotional gaps, because your soulmate has been going through their own internal awakening, a process they didn't fully understand at first, where they had to confront their fears, their past wounds, and the weight of commitment. And while you may have felt like things were slow or unclear, the truth is that something much deeper was forming beneath the surface, something that could not be rushed or forced, because real alignment, the kind that leads to a lasting marriage, requires both souls to reach a level of emotional truth, and now that moment is approaching where everything hidden begins to come forward, where the truth about how they truly see you, how they truly feel about building a life with you, and how serious their intentions have become will no longer stay buried inside them. And this truth is not small, it is not casual, it is something that carries weight, something that shifts the entire direction of your connection, because your soulmate is beginning to recognize that what they have with you is not something they can replace, not something they can ignore, and definitely not something they can walk away from without feeling the loss deeply. And this realization has not come easily to them. It has come through moments of silence, through watching you from a distance, through comparing every other connection to what they feel with you and realizing nothing else matches the depth, the comfort, the emotional pull that you bring into their life. And this is where the beautiful truth begins to rise, because marriage for them is no longer just an idea or a distant possibility. It is becoming a real vision, something they are starting to see themselves stepping into with you. Something they are quietly preparing for even if they have not spoken it out loud yet. And you may notice small shifts, subtle changes in how they communicate, how they show up, how they respond to you, because when someone begins to accept that you are their future, their energy changes, their priorities shift, and their actions slowly begin to align with that inner truth. And what makes this moment powerful is that it is not driven by pressure, not influenced by others, but coming from their own heart, their own realization, their own acceptance that you are the person they want to build something real and lasting with. And I know there were times when you doubted, times when you questioned if they were serious, if they were capable of giving you the commitment you deserve. But what is coming forward now is going to answer those doubts in a way that feels undeniable, because truth has a way of revealing itself when both souls are ready, and your soulmate is reaching that point where they can no longer hide from what they feel, where they can no longer pretend that this connection is just temporary or casual, because every path they take emotionally leads them back to you. Every thought about the future somehow includes you, and every attempt to distance themselves only makes them realize how deeply connected they truly are. And this is why the truth about your marriage is coming forward now, because they are beginning to understand that love is not just about feelings, it is about choosing someone, standing beside them, and building something that can withstand time, challenges, and growth. And they are starting to see you as that person, the one who fits into their life not just emotionally but practically, spiritually, and deeply. And this realization is not loud, it is quiet but strong. It is not rushed, it is steady and intentional, and that is why it is so powerful, because when someone reaches this level of clarity, they don't go back, they don't second-guess the same way. They move forward with a different mindset, a mindset that includes commitment, stability, and long-term vision, and what you are about to witness is the unfolding of that mindset into real actions, real words, and real steps toward a shared future, and you might feel it even before they say anything. You might sense the shift in how they hold space for you, how they include you in their plans, how they begin to open up about things they once kept guarded, because when someone is preparing for marriage, they begin to let you see all sides of them, not just the easy parts but the real parts, the parts that require trust and vulnerability, and this is a sign that they are no longer just thinking about love, they are thinking about partnership, about building a life where both of you grow together, support each other, and stand strong even when things are not perfect. And this is the truth that is emerging, the truth that your connection was never meant to stay uncertain. It was always moving towards something deeper, something more permanent. And now that movement is becoming visible, and I want you to stay open to it, not by forcing anything, not by rushing their process, but by allowing things to unfold naturally, because what is real does not need to be chased, it reveals itself in time, and your soulmate is stepping into that time now, where their actions will begin to match the depth of their feelings, where their silence will be replaced with clarity, and where their hesitation will transform into decision. And when that moment fully arrives, you will not have to question where you stand, you will feel it in the way they show up, in the way they choose you again and again, and in the way they begin to build a future that includes you not as an option, but as a permanent part of their life. And this is the beautiful truth that is coming forward, the truth that your story with them is not incomplete, not uncertain, but aligning step by step into something that holds meaning, commitment, and a future that both of you are finally ready to embrace together. And as this truth continues to unfold, what you are going to notice next is something even more powerful, because it is one thing for someone to quietly realize your value, but it is another thing entirely when they begin to act on that realization without being pushed, without being reminded, and without being questioned. And this is exactly where your soulmate is heading now, into a phase where their internal clarity starts turning into visible effort, where their thoughts about you no longer stay locked inside their mind but begin to shape the way they move toward you, the way they prioritize you, and the way they start creating space in their life that only you can fill. And I need you to understand how significant this shift is, because this is the stage where intentions become actions, where feelings become decisions, and where uncertainty begins to dissolve into something that feels grounded and real. And what makes this even more meaningful is that this change is not coming from fear of losing you, but from the deep realization that they genuinely want you, that they see you as someone they cannot replace, someone who brings a sense of peace, understanding, and emotional connection that they have not found anywhere else. And this awareness is beginning to reshape their mindset about commitment, about marriage, and about what it truly means to build a life with someone. Because before this moment they may have had doubts, they may have questioned whether they were ready, whether they could handle the responsibility, whether they could fully open their heart without holding something back. But now those doubts are being replaced with a different kind of thinking, a thinking that says this connection is worth it, this person is worth it, and this future is something I cannot ignore any longer. And as this realization grows stronger within them, you will begin to feel a new kind of energy from them, a more consistent presence, a more intentional effort, a more genuine desire to understand you on a deeper level, and this is not temporary. This is not something that fades after a few days. This is a steady shift that comes from within, and that is why it feels different, because when someone truly decides to move toward you, their actions stop being confusing, their words stop being unclear, and their energy becomes something you can trust. And this is where the truth about your marriage begins to take a more defined shape, because your soulmate is no longer just imagining a future with you. They are beginning to prepare for it in ways that may not always be obvious but are deeply intentional. They are thinking about stability, about growth, about how to become the kind of partner who can stand beside you not just in the good moments but in the challenging ones as well. And this preparation is something they are taking seriously, even if they have not yet expressed it fully to you, and you might notice them becoming more protective of the connection, more careful with their words, more mindful of how they treat you, because when someone sees you as their future, they stop taking you for granted. They start valuing your presence in a way that reflects long-term thinking. And this is the stage where emotional maturity begins to show, where they start choosing communication over silence, understanding over avoidance, and effort over excuses. And this is important because it shows that they are not just feeling something. They are growing into someone who can sustain what they feel, and this growth is what makes the idea of marriage real. Because marriage is not just about love, it is about consistency, responsibility, and the ability to stay committed even when things are not easy. And your soulmate is beginning to step into that version of themselves, a version that is more grounded, more aware, and more ready to build something lasting with you. And I know there were moments in the past where you felt like you were the only one holding on to this connection, where you questioned whether they would ever meet you at the same level. But what is happening now is a clear answer to those moments, because they are rising to meet you, they are aligning with you, and they are doing it in a way that feels natural rather than forced. And this is why this truth is so beautiful, because it is not coming from pressure, it is not coming from fear, it is coming from genuine realization and emotional readiness. And when someone reaches this point, their actions begin to speak louder than anything else. They begin to show you through consistency, through effort, and through presence that they are serious about you. And as this continues to unfold, you will find that the connection itself starts to feel different, more stable, more secure, more aligned with what you have always hoped for. And this is not an illusion. This is the result of both of you growing into the space that was always meant for you, and your soulmate is now stepping fully into that space, leaving behind the hesitation, the confusion, and the emotional distance that once existed, and moving toward you with a clarity that will be impossible to ignore. And this is where everything begins to change, because once clarity enters a connection, everything else starts to fall into place. Conversations become more meaningful, plans become more concrete, and the idea of a shared future becomes something that both of you can see, feel, and begin to build together. And this is only the beginning of what is coming forward, because the deeper truth about your marriage is still unfolding. And what comes next will not only confirm what you have felt in your heart but will also give you the kind of assurance that you have been waiting for, the kind that removes doubt and replaces it with a quiet but unshakable knowing that this connection is real, this love is genuine, and this future is something that both of you are finally ready to step into together without fear, without hesitation, and without looking back. And now, as everything continues to move into alignment, what is about to unfold next carries a depth that you may have sensed for a long time but are only now beginning to fully understand, because this is the moment where not only does your soulmate accept the truth of this connection within themselves, but they also begin to express it outwardly in ways that remove all remaining confusion. And this is where the energy between you shifts into something undeniable, something that feels steady, grounded, and real in a way that no longer leaves room for doubt, because your soulmate is reaching a point where holding back no longer feels right to them, where staying silent about their true intentions begins to feel heavier than speaking up, and this is why you will start to see them opening up in ways they never did before, sharing thoughts about the future, making you a part of their plans without hesitation, and showing you through both words and actions that you are not just someone they care about, you are someone they are choosing, and that choice is what transforms everything, because love becomes powerful when it is backed by decision, when it is supported by commitment, and when it is expressed through consistent effort, and this is exactly what is emerging now, a version of your soulmate who is no longer running from what they feel, who is no longer questioning whether this connection is worth it, but who is instead stepping forward with a sense of certainty that comes from deep emotional clarity, and you will feel this certainty in the way they communicate with you, in the way they prioritize time with you, and in the way they begin to build a foundation that reflects long-term intention rather than temporary emotion. And this is where the truth about your marriage becomes something you can not only feel but also see taking shape in real time. Because your soulmate is beginning to align their life in a way that includes you fully, not partially, not conditionally, but completely. And this kind of alignment does not happen overnight. It is the result of everything they have gone through internally, every doubt they had to face, every fear they had to release, and every realization that brought them closer to understanding that you are the person they want beside them. And now that they have reached this level of understanding, their actions will begin to reflect a new level of seriousness, a new level of dedication that shows they are ready to move forward, and this may come in the form of deeper conversations, more direct expressions of their feelings, or even clear steps toward building a shared future. And while each of these moments may seem small on their own, together they create a powerful shift that changes the entire direction of your connection. Because when someone begins to act with intention, everything becomes clearer, everything becomes more stable, and everything begins to move towards something lasting. And this is where you will start to feel a sense of peace replacing the uncertainty that once existed, a sense of calm knowing that you no longer have to question where you stand, because their actions will answer that for you without you needing to ask. And this is what makes this moment so important, because it marks the transition from emotional confusion to emotional clarity, from waiting to receiving, and from hoping to knowing. And your soulmate is playing a key role in this transformation by stepping into a version of themselves that is ready for commitment, ready for partnership, and ready for the kind of love that leads to marriage. And this readiness is not just about saying the right things, it is about showing up consistently, being present in ways that matter, and making choices that reflect a long-term vision. And as this continues to unfold, you will find that the connection itself begins to feel more balanced, more mutual, and more aligned with what you have always desired, because both of you are now moving in the same direction with the same intention. And this is where everything begins to solidify, where the idea of a future together is no longer something uncertain but something that feels natural and expected. And this is the beautiful truth that has been building all along, the truth that your connection was never meant to remain in a state of confusion. It was always meant to evolve into something deeper, something stronger, and something that carries the potential for a lasting and meaningful marriage. And now that truth is no longer hidden, it is coming forward with clarity, with strength, and with a sense of purpose that will guide both of you into the next chapter of your journey together, a chapter that is defined not by doubt or hesitation but by trust, commitment, and a shared vision of building a life that reflects the depth of what you both feel. And as you step into this phase, you will begin to understand why everything unfolded the way it did, why the delays happened, why the lessons were necessary, and why this connection could not be rushed, because everything was leading to this moment where both of you are finally ready, finally aligned, and finally able to move forward together with a sense of certainty that feels unshakable and real. And now, as you arrive at this final unfolding, what becomes clear is something far deeper than just a moment or a phase, because this is the point where everything that once felt uncertain transforms into something that carries permanence, something that no longer feels like it could slip away but instead feels like it is anchoring itself into your life with intention and purpose. And your soulmate at this stage is no longer standing at a distance trying to understand their emotions. They are now fully aware, fully present, and fully aligned with what their heart has been guiding them toward all along. And this is where their energy toward you becomes unmistakable, where the effort becomes consistent without you asking, where the communication becomes open without you chasing, and where the connection itself begins to feel like a safe place rather than a question mark. And this shift is not. It is the result of everything that both of you have experienced individually and together. Every moment of silence, every emotional test, every period of distance was shaping this exact outcome, where both souls are no longer running from what they feel but are instead stepping into it with clarity and confidence. And your soulmate in particular is reaching a level of emotional maturity where they understand that love is not just about intensity but about stability, not just about passion but about partnership. And this understanding is what allows them to finally move toward you in a way that reflects long-term commitment, because now they are not just thinking about how they feel today, they are thinking about how they want to build a future, how they want to grow with you, how they want to create something that lasts beyond temporary emotions. And this is where the idea of marriage stops being a distant thought and becomes a real, tangible direction, something they are willing to invest in, something they are willing to protect, and something they are ready to step into with you. And you will notice that there is no more confusion in their actions, no more mixed signals, no more hesitation that leaves you questioning their intentions, because when someone reaches this level of clarity, their behavior aligns naturally with their truth, and this alignment is what creates the sense of peace that you are beginning to feel within yourself. A peace that does not come from guessing or hoping but from seeing and experiencing the reality of what is being built between you. And this is the moment where you realize that everything you felt in your heart about this connection was not an illusion. It was a quiet knowing that simply needed time to reveal itself fully. And now that it has, there is a sense of completion, not an ending but a completion of a cycle that was filled with questions, because those questions are now being answered through real actions, real effort, and real commitment. And your soulmate is stepping into a role where they are not just emotionally connected to you but also actively choosing to stand beside you, to support you, to grow with you, and to build a life that reflects the depth of what both of you share. And this is where the foundation of marriage truly begins, not in words alone but in the daily choices, the consistency, and the mutual understanding that both of you are now ready to invest in something lasting. And as this continues to strengthen, you will find that the bond between you becomes more resilient, more secure, and more aligned with the vision that once felt distant. And this is the beautiful truth that has finally come forward, the truth that your connection was always moving toward this moment of clarity, this moment of commitment, and this moment of mutual readiness. And now that you have reached it, there is no need to look back at the confusion or the doubt that once existed, because those phases have served their purpose and have now given way to something far more meaningful, something that carries both emotional depth and practical stability. And as you move forward together, you will begin to see how naturally everything starts to align, how conversations flow with ease, how plans begin to take shape without resistance, and how both of you start to build a future that feels not only possible but certain. And this certainty is what defines the final stage of this journey. A stage where love is no longer questioned but lived, where commitment is no longer feared but embraced, and where the idea of marriage becomes a shared reality that both of you are stepping into with open hearts and clear intentions. And this is where your story transforms into something lasting, something grounded, and something that reflects the truth that was always meant to come forward, a truth that now stands strong, visible, and undeniable as both of you move ahead together into a future that is built on trust, clarity, and a deep, unshakable connection that neither time nor circumstance can easily break.